sunrise in my eyes. My rock's sweeter, beat the one I love. I don't know how, don't know why. I've been toasting all my life. Oh, it's sweeter. I've been toasting all my life.
Welcome to Phillip Island, Victoria in Australia. What a setting we have for this great sporting contest, the Little Penguin Sea to Dune race. Nervous moments always as they gather on the beach, the tension mounting, and away they go. There's the defending champion, wearing his familiar navy blue and white, great waddling style. Another pre-race favourite though, losing touch with the pack. Maybe that's why. A few too many fish in the day's feeding. There's a familiar face, Skip McIntyre, 8 times a champion back in the 90s, a very successful coach now, keeping a keen eye on proceedings. This the leading group, 1 or 2 still able to put on a show for the camera, others just ploughing straight over it. Some resorting to shortcuts. Sad that cheating has crept into this beautiful sport. The judges will have a look at that. But up at the front, the pace is relentless, closing in on those sand dunes that will offer a bed for the night. The fatigue starting to tell. Who's got the finishing kick up on the outside? What a turn of pace from that one, whichever one it is. No answer from the rest, and he takes victory. What a win. There we are, into the Burrow, building an extension with his winnings, and back tomorrow to try and defend his title here on Phillip Island.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another night of live Penguin TV. My name is Jordan, I'm your host tonight, and this evening we are joined by Megan. Megan, come on in and say hello.
Hi everyone, tonight I'm going to be reading through your comments and questions on Facebook and YouTube and feeding through some of your best, your most difficult questions to Jordan to answer live on the air tonight.
Beautiful. So at any point, if you've got a burning question that you would love answered, if you'd like to try and stump me, which if you were watching 2 nights ago, you would have seen it happen not once but twice. Michael gave me some really, really good questions live throughout the stream, and I'll do my best to get back to you about them a little bit later in the stream as well. Please do send them through on Facebook and YouTube. Megan will be flicking between both feeds to see all your questions and your comments about penguins or anything Phillip Island related tonight. So we will be having a team of dedicated penguin rangers going through the Facebook comments and answering all of your wonderful questions personally. Unfortunately, we don't have that capacity on YouTube, so she'll definitely be mainly focusing on YouTube tonight, but occasionally flicking over to Facebook to check on some of your questions, because I think we get about double the amount of people on Facebook commenting and things every night. Now, before I jump into too much, well, we are all obviously here to see the world's smallest species of penguin making their way home to Phillip Island in Victoria, Australia. And our penguin counter, who is sitting up in that little white box over there with a pair of binoculars, has been looking out into the ocean and searching the water's edge to see if she can find any penguins. And I believe a minute or so ago, Megan heard that she found some just at the water's edge. And was it at Penguins Plus, Megan?
Sure was, Jordan.
Alrighty, let us zoom in over here and see if we can spot their little white bellies. Is that them just there? They are only very little, the smallest of the 18 species of penguin in the world. And yep, there they are, a nice little raft slowly building up the courage, coming out of the water and getting ready to make their dangerous dash across the big open beach tonight. And if you've been watching over the last couple of nights, you'll notice that the tide is a fair bit lower than what it was in previous nights. So in nights earlier this week, the waves are almost kind of allowing the penguins to surf right into the rocks and right into the vegetation. But these little guys have a little bit further to get home tonight, so they want to make absolutely sure that it's safe enough to be able to cross the beach. Because they are so small, only about 33 centimetres or 1 foot tall, they have to make absolute certain that when they are crossing the beach at night, that there's not going to be any predatory birds that are flying around, and would like to have a late night snack before they go home to bed. So these penguins, it's a little bit hard to tell here, but if you come in person, you can see they've actually got really beautiful bright navy blue feathers on their back, which help keep them camouflaged in the water when they're out in the ocean. So if they are wanting to return home, they have to make sure it's dark enough that all those scary predatory birds such as swamp harriers, sea eagles, whistling kites, they've gone to bed for the night when the sun sets at about the same level of darkness, which means the penguins can cross the beach and not get snacked on. So while it is still a little bit light, we can see them quite clearly, fortunately, which is really good, but you can see they're a little bit nervous. They're kind of floating around. They're not quite committed to staying on land just yet. So they're just going to float around in the water, and they will be making a sound called a huck to try and encourage some other penguins to come and join them, because there is safety in numbers here at the Penguin Parade. So huck, huck, huck to all you wattle watchers out there. There we go. Got to rope everyone into giving it a bit of a hug. So yeah, that's a little bit of a location call out. And if this is your first time watching live Penguin TV, you've probably seen all these people going huck, huck, huck in the comments. And that's penguin for hello, is anyone else out there? Can we go home yet? Is it safe? Is it dark enough? What do we think? So you'll probably hear Megan and I imitating a few penguins tonight, and we'll probably even share a few poo stories with you if you're lucky. You'll know that we like to make lots of noise and talk about poo, me especially. But while we are just waiting for them to slowly make their way across, I'm going to talk to you all about penguins, and when they do eventually start crossing the beach, we'll have about 20 minutes of penguin time where we can watch them crossing the beach, hanging around on land, might be even doing some poos or some preening behaviour, and I'll be able to talk you through that as well as answering some of the questions throughout the stream as well. So again, at any point, please do ask your questions in Facebook or YouTube. I can see Megan busily writing down a few questions so that when I ask her for some, she'll be able to have them immediately for us as well. But if we aren't able to answer your question, back in the water we go. If we aren't able to answer your question live on the air, never fear, we are running this stream every night. So keep watching, keep asking those questions, and hopefully we will be able to get your questions answered live on the stream. Now, for our regular water watchers out there, I'm sure you all have a burning question, and that was how many penguins crossed the beach last night. And Megan has the magic number. So, Migos, let us know how many penguins crossed the beach last night.
So, Jordan, last night we had 1,280 penguins, and they came in at 8:20.
1,280 penguins. So, it is currently 8:21, and they came in 1 minute ago, yesterday. Very good.
And I would just like to give a shout out to Janice, who guessed 1,276 penguins. So they were only 4 penguins off. Good guessing.
Great work, Janice. That is absolutely amazing. I think we will need to have a job for you here at Phillip Island Nature Parks at the Penguin Parade and help us count penguins, because that is a job that we do every single night. We count these little guys crossing the beach on a variety of different pathways for 50 minutes each night. And yeah, so Janice, well done. Well deserved. I hope you can give yourself a bit of a pat on the back. And I think you're watching on YouTube tonight, so awesome stuff. Now, before I jump into too much more penguin, which you all, if you've been watching live Penguin TV, oh, there they go, running back into the water. You know, I could probably go on all night about these little penguins, but there's something that we always do at the start of live Penguin TV, which we think is really, really important on an individual level and as an organisation as well, and that's to acknowledge the land that we are joining you from today, the land that the penguins are making their way home and call their home as well. So we are here on Phillip Island, also known as Malau in the local Bunurong language, and the Bunurong people are the traditional custodians of the land here on Malau on Phillip Island, and our records show they've been coming over to Phillip Island seasonally for up to 10,000 years. So they would have been the first people to see these penguins waddle their way home, and they live with this land very sustainably for many thousands of years, just like a lot of other Indigenous, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people all over Australia. So I would like to acknowledge the Bunurong people as the traditional custodians of the land and pay my respect to elders past, present and emerging, and encourage all of you to think about ways just like the Bunurong, just like the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders that have been here in Australia for over 65,000 years. I encourage you to find different ways that you can live more sustainably and more peacefully with the earth, so we can welcome these guys, these little penguins and also other wildlife, flora and fauna, back safe to wherever their home may be as well, because every little bit counts, everyone doing their bit to make a bit of a difference and helping out the environment and reducing their impact on the environment as well. So thank you again very much for that. And I would also like to say happy Naidoc week to everyone. So we've mentioned this a little bit on the live stream. It is Naidoc week. We're in the final day of Naidoc week, which is a celebration of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture, achievements, communities and cultures as well. So I encourage all of you watching at home to learn a little bit about the traditional custodians of the land that you're joining us from, and maybe even in the comments let us know who the custodians are of the land that you're joining from. And if you don't know too much about it, jump onto the website naidoc.org.au and learn a little bit more about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander history and your local custodians as well, because it's really important that we acknowledge the true history of Australia, and that history here didn't start from European settlement in 1770. So again, thank you for all of educating yourselves and learning a little bit more and respecting the custodians of the land that you're joining us from today as well. Alrighty, so I might zoom out just a touch and see what's going on, maybe a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, and see if we can see any more rafts starting to come in. I can see some heads kind of bobbing in and out. The ones that are going back, I wonder if they're just a little bit nervous, or if there's another little raft or waddle. What are you guys doing just behind the seaweed over here? Are you confused? Are you trying to go up a different pathway, or are you trying to join up with that other group? You can see that these penguins, they're kind of facing that way, so it doesn't really look like they want to join that group that we were just focusing in on over there. So yeah, I wonder if their home is kind of a little bit, hang on, yeah, it is that way. No, it's that way. I always get confused because it's a bit of a mirror image here. I've got to say left or right. So yeah, I wonder if that's they're kind of forming a group that we like to call a waddle here at the nature parks to make their kind of shortest dangerous dash home. Look at them kind of piling on over the seaweed over here. So I did mention Phillip Island Nature Parks, and that is the organisation that employs Megan and myself and allows us to go out and do penguin research and talk to people about penguins day in and day out, which is a really, really lovely job. But here at Phillip Island Nature Parks, we are a non-for-profit conservation organisation, which means we get most of our income to do conservation, education and research projects through people coming to visit us at our attractions, such as the Penguin Parade. You obviously all know about the Penguin Parade, but you may have also heard of the Koala Conservation Reserve, which is looking after some resident koalas and also some bushfire affected koalas from Gippsland kind of earlier in the year. And we also look after Churchill Island Heritage Farm, which is a wonderful kind of family day out, and you get to go back in time a little bit and see what it was like for the first European settlers who came to Phillip Island, to Churchill Island, and learn a little bit about some of the animals that we've got over there and some of the old machinery and buildings that we have too. And we also look after the Nobby Centre, and which is pretty much 3 kilometres west from us, just over here, as well as a range of woodlands and ocean coastal reserves as well. So we've got a pretty big job of looking after about 20% of Phillip Island, not just the Penguin Parade here. So normally when we were able to have lots of people coming to join us prior to lockdown, we would get all of our money through people buying tickets, tours, souvenirs and things like that. And we're very, very happy that we can admit 50 people to the Penguin Parade, and we are open 7 days a week now, which is so awesome. We get to have you guys every night now. But yeah, we could have many thousands of people back in the day coming to see these penguins. So if you aren't able to join us, whether you're interstate, whether you're overseas, or whether you just couldn't get a ticket, because we're pretty sold out, at least for the next couple of days at the Penguin Parade, with only 50 people. So if you've fallen in love with these guys and would like to help us with some of the work that we do, you can donate to the Penguin Foundation, and the link is just in the description below. There's a few different options. You can make a one-off donation, you can become a penguin pal and get a cute little plush toy like one of these guys. It's got a beautiful little hand knitted jumper. Or you can symbolically adopt a penguin and you can name it as well, which is really cool because these are wild animals, and you trust me, Megan and I have said this many, many times, you do not want a penguin as a pet. I was actually talking to a family yesterday who had come to visit, and they're like, oh, I just want to take one home, they're so cute. It's like, no, you don't. They are grumpy, they are loud, they're smelly, they will bite you and they will scratch you because they're wild animals and they love living out here in the wild, in the ocean and in the Summerland Peninsula. So if you do want to adopt a penguin, as I said, it is a symbolic adoption. We've got a nice little group making their way over here. Yeah, you can get one of those little toys and things as well. So check out the different options, and as I said, the link is in the description below. We've been blown away by everyone's generosity who has donated in the past, and a big thank you to all those people. And if anyone is thinking about adopting a penguin or becoming a penguin pal, again, thank you so much for helping to keep these little guys safe, and they can keep coming on to Phillip Island, back to Malau, back to the Penguin Parade, and live a very, very safe, happy life here with us. Alrighty, I think we now have strayed a little bit away from Penguins Plus, and I'm not convinced anyone has crossed the beach just yet. We can see, if I just kind of show you all, it is still fairly light out there, so there is a potential for some predatory birds to still be out and about. And in fact, I think I might have just seen a raft of penguins in the water, and I know we've already had penguins at the water's edge, but hang on, I just want to check, have they started, they're kind of starting to cross the rocks over here. Before it gets too dark, I just wanted to show you all what a raft actually looks like out in the ocean. So a group of penguins, when they're going, hack, 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 hack. Anyone else out there? Can we cross the beach yet? What do we think? So you're looking for a little bit of a shadow in the water. It's pretty much directly in the center of the screen just now. It looks like they're actually zooming quite quickly in towards land. It doesn't look like it's a huge group. Can we see them? They are a little bit far out, so it might be a bit trickier. That's their kind of heads. They're kind of porpoising through the water, and they'll be making a little bit of a splash, but they are definitely making a beeline for the shore. So before, I definitely want to make sure we are not missing any crossing the beach. We can see some just off to the left there. But there are some very, very brave penguins who, even though it is still fairly light, they are starting to make their dangerous dash along the beach. And the penguins up here towards Penguins Plus, so that they're at the pathway closest to us, it looks like it's going to be a bit of a tough, tricky journey home for these penguins. Look at all these rocks they have to clamber over and hop along. Some of the rocks are even bigger than the penguins themselves. But you can see that it's a little bit harder, except for us, seeing their white bellies. Imagine if you're a predatory bird flying above and all you can see are these dark rocks. And if a penguin kind of huddles down, they'll kind of blend in perfectly with the rocks, and a bird might think that it's just a few rocks hanging about. In fact, we have actually had quite a few rangers mistake rocks for penguins in the past. They've gone, that penguin's not really moving very much there, is it? Or they've gone, everyone come over here, come and have a look at this penguin, and it's just a rock. Silly.
Jordan, we've just heard there's another raft swimming in, so if you zoom out, you might be able to see it as it arrives.
That other raft, I wonder if that's the one that we just spotted. So I don't think we're in any danger of missing these penguins crossing the beach. I can see them splashing about. Let's zoom right in on them. One thing we would love to hear from all of you in the comments as well is how many penguins you think are in each group or each waddle as they cross the beach. Oh, look at them swimming along. There's not too many of them. Look at them surfing the waves. They are pro surfers, much better than Megan or I. And I wonder if this group is going to quickly kind of hurry up to the penguins that are already in the rocks, or if they're going to kind of catch their breath and they might kind of form their own group, or maybe they'll even wait for some other penguins when they can hear them going ha, 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 out in the water. That one is scooting across to try and join this group, and they do not land. They've hit the edge of the water, they hit the land, and they are just ploughing on through. We saw the ones a little bit earlier. They kind of stopped and looked around, and they're fighting around a little bit. Should we go? Should we not? Is it safe? What do we think? But, in fact, if I zoom out just a little bit more, these penguins on the rocks, what am I talking about? The rocks really haven't moved far at all. Rocks are probably making them go a little bit slow tonight, but I reckon this little group that's just zoomed in will probably join them, and our penguin counter tonight, Sally, will have a pretty tough job counting all these guys, especially over the rocks. But it's lucky tonight that she'll be able to count this group 1 or 2 or 3 times to make sure she gets an accurate guess as to an accurate number as to how many penguins are crossing the beach. So I have been talking for, nearly a solid 20 minutes. Goodness me, I can talk. So we might, to make sure we are answering a few questions now, I might throw to Megan for one of our audience questions, and I can see she's got a page full of writing and she'll be ready to have some questions for me. So let's have one, Migos.
Oh, sorry, I was just getting Sally giving me some numbers.
Catching her off guard.
Everyone's talking to me. That second group there was 46 penguins. I did catch that one.
Oh, 46 penguins in the second group. Excellent. It's really, really tricky listening to your radio and talking to people and looking and doing a whole bunch of other things. So we forgive you, Megan. It's okay. Just don't do it again.
Just poor timing, Jordan. Try harder.
Megan.
Do you want a question or not?
Oh, the attitude! My goodness! You can tell we live together, can't you?
We also do have another raft coming in, so I might give you the question while we have a bit of a look.
Sure.
Woo!
Sunday night. Sorry.
One that's quite relevant as we're watching them cross. Have you ever seen a predator take a penguin?
Ooh, have I ever seen a predator take a penguin? Yes, I have, and it was an interesting experience because I was only here. I was a newbie ranger. I didn't really know much about penguins, and I remember going out onto the boardwalks, and I was like, oh my god, I hope no one asked me about penguins. I won't know what to say. let's all laugh together, as she talks about penguins nonstop for 20 minutes. So yeah, in my first couple of weeks here, it was a really low tide, kind of similar to tonight, and I remember it was really, really clear. There wasn't a cloud in the sky, and I think it might have even been a full moon or kind of close to that. So the beach was fairly well lit up with natural moonlight, and there was a big Pacific gull flying around a little bit earlier, and as a group that was probably just a little bit further back than the ones that we can see just now, it kind of swooped down on this group, on this waddle of penguins, and the penguins, of course, they all scattered, and it got this one really chunky penguin, and everyone was like, oh my God, stop, save the penguin, you have to do something. But of course it's a flying bird, and it's halfway down the beach. There's nothing that we can do. But normally Pacific gulls, which are kind of like the bigger cousins of the silver gulls that you'll quite often see at the beaches here in Australia, that are always wanting to try to steal your fish and chips. So the bigger versions, the Pacific gulls, they normally go for kind of smaller prey, so maybe like a chick or an adult that's a bit skinny, it's not doing too well. But this one Pacific gull, it went for a very fat chunky penguin, and it got a few feet off the air, realized the penguin was too heavy. The penguin it dropped it and went bounce, 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 roll, 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 stood up and kept going. So and I've been working here for 2.5 years now, and that's the only time I've seen that happen crossing the beach. So the penguins have got it worked out quite well, that as soon as they know what light level it is safe to cross the beach, what time those predatory birds have gone to bed for the night, they've returned to their nest to roost, so that they can cross the open sandy beach and get back home to their burrows safe, to sit on their eggs, to feed their chicks, and to find their breeding partners as well. Because it's a team effort to raise chicks, both mum and dad taking in turns sitting on the eggs and looking after the chicks as well. So yeah, thanks for that question, Megan. Looks like this first group has well and truly made it to the resting rocks here just in front of the Penguins Plus stand, which is a ticket option that you can buy to watch the penguins here at the Penguin Parade. So the very, very first groups. What time was the start of the count, Megan? Did you hear?
I didn't actually hear that one. Sorry, Jordan.
Probably too busy talking to her. Again, it's very hard, very hard listening over the radio and listening to me talk, because as I said, I do not stop talking. But it looks like these penguins who have hit the rocks, they are not stopping for anyone. They've got things to do. They've got places to be. Don't know which direction to follow the penguins in now, because they are just scattering everywhere now they're on land. You can see all the poo on the ground, which would have been made from the penguins the night before. It looks like they've been doing, let's go down a little bit. You can see it looks like they've been doing a little bit of painting, maybe painting their burrows or something. Nope, it is definitely not paint. That is all penguin poo. And this over here seems to have been a really kind of good spot for them to kind of stop before they start charging up this hill over here. And I'm not sure if we've really given you a huge kind of view of the hill. So while it is light, some of these penguins have to go all the way up this hill. And look, it just keeps going and going and going. I've had to walk up this hill a few times before. So the penguins will actually not, the camera doesn't even go up all the way. But there is a nice, very, very steep hill up here, and the penguins have to trudge through the vegetation, have to trudge through all the rocks and the roots and things to enable them to get their way home. And it looks like we now have some penguins coming along the Penguin Highway. And if you've been watching over the last couple of nights, you will notice that there's some changes to our camera just here. We can actually move it around now, and we can zoom in, and I reckon once we have a few more starting to come across, I'm going to see if I can kind of catch these guys as they walk around. Keep going, keep going. Don't go too fast though. I won't be able to keep up with you. Woohoo! You can see all their little footprints there as well. Oh my God, they're so cute. Hey guys. Really get to see them up nice, close and personal, because yeah, it's really exciting. I think we only got this, it was your first night, no, not first night, you were the first person to test these cameras, I think, weren't you, Megan?
Yeah, it was very exciting. I think that was Thursday night.
Thursday night.
First night we were open every week to the public, and we've had our new cameras installed.
Very exciting. And so yeah, we'll probably be making sure that we're flicking over to these quite often throughout the stream as well, because we're very excited with the new technology. Now I'm going to flick back over to the beach because it looks like we've got another group that is, another waddle starting to cross the beach as well. So again, let us know in the comments how many penguins you think are in each group, because every now and then Sally will be able to let us know over the radio. She'll be able to let Megan know over the radio how many penguins are in each group. But if she's really busy counting lots of different penguin pathways, she might not be able to give let us know every single group. So it looks like we've got a fairly sizable one coming in over here, and they're stretching all the way from the rocks right inland all the way to the ocean as well. So actually let's see if there's any kind of at the water's edge as well. Looks like there might be a few hanging about. But I would say in the next maybe couple of minutes or so, there will be another raft that will slowly start making their way in, going hack, hack, hack. And you can hear them quite clearly when you're down here at the Penguin Parade. When you come and visit us in person, if you've been hacking away all through the comments and saying hello to everyone, we're looking for, I'm sure you'll be very much looking forward to actually hearing the penguins in person and not listening to Sky, myself, Megan, Michael, all of the people making all the penguin noises. You'll be able to hear them for yourself in the flesh. You'll be able to hear exactly how loud and how cute they sound. Alrighty. Now, one thing as well that if you're watching the other night, you'll have been able to watch Michael give me two really, really great questions that, as I said earlier, actually stumped me, that I actually wasn't able to give you guys a proper answer because I didn't know. So that means it was obviously a very, very good question. So one of the questions was, do penguins have different blood types? And the other one was, do penguins make sound underwater? And I promised you on Friday that I would go away and ask some of our penguin researchers to get an answer for you. And with the blood type one, I was able to ask Paula, who is one of our research technical officers, because Megan and I have done some blood sampling with her, and I was like, hey Paula, you know things about penguin blood. Do you know if penguins have different blood types? And she was like, you know what? I don't know. So it didn't only stump me. I went home and I told Megan the question, and she's like, I don't know, do they? It even stumped Paula. And so what Paula did is she went on to ask one of her friends who work in penguin conservation. He's a bit of a penguin blood guru, as she called him. I'm going to jump on the highway because it looks like we've got some penguins starting to waddle on up. And so she has even asked him, and we're waiting for a response from him as well. So I don't have an answer for you tonight. I do apologize, but I was pretty happy that if I wasn't able to answer the question, even the researchers that work here, who are absolute penguin geeks, didn't know either. So great work, whoever it was that asked that question the other night. But what Paula did tell me, she went and did some research, some reading through some scientific articles, and found out that chickens have 28 different blood groups. So obviously penguins aren't chickens, but they're birds, so may wonder if they've got kind of similar numbers. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But when we do find the answer, we will be sure. Hello there, you're a little bit late to the party. We will definitely get back to you with that one. Oh, it looks like we have a shell gritter coming down the Penguin Highway just now. A little female who probably has eggs in her tummy. She's been on land all day, and now that it's dark, now that it's safe, she can waddle down from her burrow and look for little bits of... Oh, she's looking at herself in the mirror. Do I look beautiful? What do I think? She's really having a look at herself in the mirror. What are you doing, girl? What? Quickly. She's too quick for my camera. So yeah, she'll be going down to the beach to look for a little bit. Oh, their footprints are so cute. You should hear it when it's, oh, hey guys. When it's quite wet here, and you can hear the pitter-patter of their feet, but it's kind of wet. So it's probably my favourite penguin sound, but it's not a penguin call, so I can't actually imitate it for you. Sorry, everyone. Did I finish telling my blood story? Yeah,
so.
Okay, great. So the other question, sorry.
And we have had people checking in to make sure you've done your research.
Oh,
so,
really?
Yeah, Yvonne asked the question, I believe, and she was checking in to see if you'd found it.
Okay. Thanks for checking in, Yvonne. So, as I said, we are waiting to hear back from the penguin blood guru. And once we do, we'll make sure we let you know for sure. So that is a great question that has stumped all of us here at the Penguin Parade. And the other one is, well, I think it was, do penguins make any noises underwater? And Andre, love Andre. He answers every single one of my questions, and I felt a little bit mean about messaging him on the weekend. So I'm going to do it first thing tomorrow morning as soon as I get to work at 7:30 in the morning and ask that question. But I did a little bit of research myself, asked a few rangers around the place, and no one really knew the answer. So I don't want to say definitely yes or definitely no as to whether penguins do make noise underwater. So they are air breathers, and when they do dive in the water, they have to hold their breath. So my guess, I think I said this on Friday night, was they probably don't make noise underwater because they have to hold their breath. But watch this space. We will definitely again get back to you when we have a solid answer. I will be asking Andre, and I'm sure he'll be very, very quick and very prompt at getting back to me. So speaking of questions, Megan, let's have another one, because again, I've gone on a bit of a tangent and I want to make sure we are answering everyone's questions in the comments.
Well, Jordan, we did have a question about, out of our rangers here, who has suffered the worst injury from a penguin? And since you were just talking about Andre, he has a pretty good story you might like to share.
Oh, who has the best, what was it, the
penguin injury?
Penguin injury. So Megan and I, we've got a few, we always kind of, hazard of the job, we get a few scratches and scrapes. I don't know if, I think my, oh no, you can't really see them on my, I've got a few kind of scars on my forearms from these little guys, from very, very sharp claws and sharp beaks. But if you might know this story if you are watching Professor Penguin. So as I was literally just talking about Andre, he's our penguin biologist, or penguinologist as we like to call him. And he joined us a couple of weeks ago and we were doing like a bit of a Q&A session with him. And one of the questions that came through is what is the most memorable experience you've had out in the field, or the funniest experience? And he said that when he was kind of going out there, well, in general, he just loves smelling things. He loves picking things up and, smelling away. Loves, smelling the food and smelling the beautiful fragrances all around the place. So I can't remember if it was his first time in the field. Do you remember, Megan? No, I'm not sure exactly when it was, but I'm not sure if he was holding the penguin or someone else was holding a penguin, and he put his face really, really close to it and it bit his nose. So I think that would definitely have to take the cake. Definitely haven't been bitten kind of anywhere there. Now, screw it. I'm not sure if I really should say this or not, but I'm just going to infer it. When handling penguins, Megan and I have to make sure we wear padded bras because
The mistakes have been made.
Mistakes have been made. Especially when you have to hold them right there. But that just embarrassed Megan. One of my absolute favourite things is, I wish you could see her face. She's gone so red and she's like, oh, she's so fun to embarrass. I have no shame. All right. Anyway, let's have a look at these guys hanging around on the rock. That was a really good question. I like it, and I love that Andre story as well. Alrighty, so these guys hanging around on the rocks have decided that they are not in too much of a rush to get home. I wonder if they're just catching their breath. They're making themselves look beautiful for when they do eventually head home, maybe to their breeding partner, or maybe they're trying to impress. Maybe they're trying to get a breeding partner, because Megan and I have actually found in one of the study sites that we have here at the Penguin Parade, a lot of penguins have had chicks, and the chicks have fledged. So very, very short process, between about 7 to 11 weeks before chicks are kicked out of their burrow and they've got all their brand new adult feathers and they can start fending for themselves out in the big blue ocean. But we've had a few new couples enter our study sites into, oh, look at this little guy coming up in the top camera. Hello. A few new individuals coming in for their first clutch, and we've even had the parents who have kicked their chicks out already have their second clutch of eggs, which is really, really exciting. So when they are coming out of the ocean, quite often they might have been out there for a day, a few days, or maybe even a few weeks at a time. And so when they come on land, their feathers might be a little bit ruffled. The longer they've been out in the ocean, the kind of less waterproof they become, because you might be able to see some of them, if they're kind of reaching around to their bottom and kind of pecking their bottom, they've got a little oil gland at the base of their tail, which they stimulate with their beak, and then the oil kind of starts covering their beak, and they run it through their feathers, which helps condition them. It keeps them really lovely and supple, so they interlock perfectly to help keep them waterproof, and it's a bit of a waterproof oil coating as well. So when they come home, they're kind of feeling a little bit uncomfortable because they've got really, really densely packed feathers. So if anything's out of place, they've got to kind of make sure, their hair is in order, and make sure they're nice and waterproof for the next time that they head back out into the ocean. I'm going to jump back to the Penguin Highway because it looks like we've got a few more friends coming up this way just over here. So that's what they're doing just at the moment, and sometimes I'll do that on the resting rocks. They'll waddle a little bit further, then they'll stop kind of up the highway or maybe up the hill. And then, is that a wallaby up there? Am I imagining things? What's that dark patch? Well, that's not where I wanted you to go, but hey guys. Yeah, I think that might be a wallaby just over there. It's right at the top of the camera screen. I don't know. It's just out of shot. There we go. So we've got a little swamp wallaby hanging around up there, nibbling on the grass. They're a friend of the penguin, not a foe. They're herbivores. They're vegetarian. The penguin's a pescatarian, only eat seafood, so no bad blood there. So let us now jump over and see how we're going. So these penguins can have very, very long trips when they are out at sea, which is something that Megan has been doing quite recently. Oh, they've all moved along. That's okay. Let's jump back to the main penguins. And I've noticed that quite a lot of people in the comments have been asking, what's been going on with the tracking? Do we have any updates? What have we learnt? Things like that. So I thought Megan could let us know a little bit about what she's been doing recently, if we have any updates, or if she's got any stories, any penguins that she's tracked that kind of stood out to her as well. So let us know, Megan.
Yeah, so we've kind of finished getting most of our data, so we've been looking through that data, seeing where our penguins are going, what they've been up to, and some of them just do the funniest things. So we aim to track penguins on one trip, but some of them we've got 2 trips, some of them we've got 4 trips, because they just like to do whatever they want, these little penguins. So there was actually one that I was looking at, and it was a penguin who had eggs that it was incubating. And that penguin parent swapped with his partner, went out to sea, and instead of being out there for a few days, came back after one day. And his partner was like, "What are you doing back so early? You haven't tried hard enough to get enough food. Go back out." And that penguin went back out. So I didn't get it till it came back after another day of fishing. Looked at the data, was like, well, "Why did you come back and go back out again?" Obviously, the missus wasn't too happy and sent him back out to get a bit more food. But there's been a few like that.
Absolutely. We've affectionately called one of the penguins Mr. G. So I don't know if anyone's seen Mean Girls, but the mother of Regina George was just always like, "Can I get you anything? Do you need anything? Are you okay? Can I help you? I'm a cool parent." So we kind of made up a little bit of a story about one of those penguins. I think this might have been a separate kind of occasion, but we never thought that the penguin at home, when the partner came back to swap over, would be like, no, I'm all good, you go back out, or no, I'm not done, go get more food, what are you even doing? So it's always fun trying to interpret what the penguins have been up to, and like we say, we like to make fun and tell or put little stories to the penguins as well.
And Mr. G had been out for like 5 days, so his missus was very keen to stay on those eggs. Maybe she didn't trust him, I don't know.
Was it 5 didn't trust him? Was it 5 different trips that he came? Like he went out in the morning, came back at night.
No, we actually didn't track him. I was waiting for his partner to go out. I put a tracker on her. I was sure she'd been there for 5 or 6 days, and I was sure she was going to go out. And then I saw that Mr. G had crossed the weighbridge, so I was very excited. I was sure she'd gone out, and when I came back, she was still there.
Oh, Penguins! So one of the things that Megan had to do in order to track the penguins is she has to try and work out a good candidate. And we've got something called a pair file, which I've been working on a little bit recently. And you can see kind of who's been hanging out at home. You can see what their kind of incubation shifts are, whether they're 3 or 4 days, whether they're more, whether they're less, and you can see quite a consistent pattern kind of over time. And of course, as soon as you go, yep, that's a great candidate, I need a female or I need a male, that's a penguin at home, let's put the tracker on it. Put the tracker on it, and the next day you come back and it's still there, and you're like, what are you doing? You are meant to leave, penguin. It's like with anything. You think they're going to do one thing and they'll do the complete opposite. So penguins will never fail to surprise us or make us work very hard. So they're very fun things to work with for sure. Now, as it's getting a little bit darker, I might head out to the beach for one last little look. It looks like we've still got a few more crossing the beach. Beautiful. So I think Megan's just told me there's about 5 more minutes left of the stream tonight, and it always goes quick when you're talking about it. I remember at the start, before I started doing this live stream, I was like, oh my god, I have to talk for like 20 minutes non-stop. Don't laugh at me.
Not a problem for Jordan.
Hey, you can do it as well. So yeah, we're always very nervous going live, to the world. But yeah, it's much easier. It's not. Well, now that everyone is just so lovely in the comments as well. I wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to Tim Tay. I think that's how you pronounce your last name, Tim. You are always just posting the loveliest comments, and it's not just you guys are doing a great job. You do like a big paragraph of just everything that you're watching, and it's full of compliments. It's always so lovely to go back and read. So I get thanks to every single person who is putting something positive in the comments. Most of us at Rangers, after we do the live stream, we go back through, we watch ourselves, we want to go, oh my god, what did I do? Why did I say that? To try and keep it fresh and read through all of the wonderful comments, and they are overwhelmingly so positive and just so lovely. So thanks for all the love, everyone. It makes our job a lot easier and a lot more fun knowing that you guys are so happy and positive about watching the penguins. So again, thank you so much. Alrighty, let's maybe go for 1 or 2 more questions before we finish up tonight. I think we've answered 1 or 2 so far. I want to make sure we get through a couple tonight before we sign off. So let's have another question, Megan.
Sure. So Vince would like to know, how is a penguin real estate assigned? So who gets the closest burrows?
Ooh, are there any like real estate agents? I don't know what I'm on about tonight. That's all right. So how is the real estate assigned? So it really depends on where your parents raised you, because the chicks, when they are of breeding age at about 2 to 3 years old, they'll come back to a very, very similar area within about kind of 40 or 50 metres or so, provided they don't decide to split off and go to a different colony, which I think we say happens about 6% of the time, but normally they will come back to the area where their parents raised them, in a very similar area, an area that they're familiar with, that they know, the pathway that they've memorized when they headed out into the ocean that time when they were ready to fledge. So it's purely dependent on where their parents are and if there's enough kind of good habitat. So if you've got a beautiful beachside residence, if you don't have to travel too far inland, that's exactly where you will go. If their parents raise them 2 kilometres inland, that is where they will head back to as well. And it's usually, if there's no wooden boxes around, the male penguins are the one that will dig the burrow, so they'll use their kind of big strong beak to push aside any of the dirt, and then they'll flick it all out with their sharp little flippers on their feet. Look like we've got a shell gritter going out. Hey girl, going out to get some shell grit. And another one. Sorry, I was actually looking at the one on the main screen. There's also one on the Penguin Highway as well. So yeah, and then once the male has dug the burrow, he'll stand out the front when he's ready to breed, and he'll puff his chest out, and Megan's going to do it with me as well, and he'll make a bit of a trill to try and sound beautiful and sexy to a female. So he'll go promised we'd have some penguin sounds, didn't I? And then the female will go, ooh, you you look like a bit of a honey. I think I'll stay with you. Or it might just be a bit of a one-night stand and then they'll continue on their way. Because if you do have a lovely, long journey back to your burrow, I guess you get to meet lots of eligible bachelors or even partners that maybe their partners haven't arrived home, so they're kind of a bit of a free agent. So I always wonder if the penguins that have a slightly longer trip home, if they live a little bit further inland, if they get if they maybe have a few more boyfriends and girlfriends that they're able to meet along the way. So I hope that answers your question. And let's have one final one before we head off. Another shell gritter who is definitely going the other way, going against the flow of the penguins. One more question, Megan, before we sign off.
On that note, do penguins ever fight each other?
Ooh,
Not just fighting us, but do they fight each other?
They definitely like to fight us. Yeah, so male penguins especially are quite territorial and will fight each other if they're kind of getting too close. Oh, two shell gritters, looks like just above us here. If a male is getting too close to their territory, to their burrow, or if it looks like a male is getting too close to the woman, to the wife or to the girlfriend, and there is a little bit of an altercation. It's again lots of noise, lots of chests out, lots of flippers, and they try to get up nice and tall and they arch their heads and they'll try to peck at each other. And they're very, very tough little penguins. So sometimes in the breeding season, it doesn't happen super often, but occasionally we will see male penguins that instead of having white on their belly, it's all red, and we're like, oh my gosh, what's happened to it? But usually it's just because they have fought, and because they're so wet, even a tiny little drop of blood can just kind of extend and kind of flow kind of all over the feathers, and it can make it look quite bad. And if there is a sick or injured penguin, we do have a wildlife hospital which is funded by the Penguin Foundation. So if you've adopted a penguin or donated in the past, that's what your donation has gone towards, helping to rescue and rehabilitate penguins. But usually if there's been a fight, it's usually just they might have a little bit of a nick somewhere, so we can check the penguin out in the field and go, no, you're all fine. You're a beautiful, fat, healthy penguin. You're a good weight. Can see that it's kind of an old wound. It's starting to heal up, so there's no need to take them to the hospital, which can be a very kind of stressful experience, and we don't want to take them away from their partner, especially if they might even have chicks at home or eggs that they need to sit on as well. 3 more shell gritters. Look at you go. 4 shell gritters. My goodness. So yeah, if you see any penguins with some kind of red down their front, make sure you let a ranger know if you are visiting us here at the Penguin Parade. But if it is the breeding season, it will probably just be 2 females having a little bit of a blue and establishing their territory and things like that. So thanks for the question. Got a few new ones and fun ones tonight. I think that should probably wrap us up for tonight, because I think we've gone a little bit over time. Surprise, surprise. You all know I like to talk lots and lots about penguins. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've had a lovely night watching these little guys make their way home to Phillip Island, Victoria, Australia. Megan and I will be off for the next week, so I believe next week your hosts of the live stream will be the lovely Sky and Stephen. So make sure you give them lots of love and tune in, ask them lots of great questions and give them all the encouragement in the world, because again, we really, really love and appreciate it. Remember, if you are wanting to come and visit us here at the Penguin Parade, to book ahead, because as much as we would love to see you, we only have a maximum of 50 people, 50 people allowed at the moment until our capacity increases. So we don't want you to be disappointed at the door and not be let in. So make sure you book ahead and make sure you've got a ticket for the right date before you do join us here. And make sure you come and say hello to us if you see us out on the boardwalk. So we'd love to know if you've been watching and love to ask any questions that you've got with us here in person as well. It's very, very strange talking to a computer screen. It's much more fun talking to people in person. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say for the night, except for, again, if you have loved watching the penguins and would love to help us support them and keep the penguins safe, to donate to the Penguin Foundation. Link in the description below. You can adopt a penguin or become a penguin pal and get one of these cute little plush toys and go towards helping fund our wildlife hospital, which doesn't only look after penguins but also a lot of other other native wildlife. And also the Penguin Foundation funds a lot of our research projects which help us find out a little bit more about penguins and ways that we can help protect them here on land and out in the ocean as well. So again, I think that's about all I have to say. Megan, come in, say goodbye, and if I've missed anything, let me know. Say goodbye to these guys.
I think you've said plenty, Jordan. Bye everyone, we'll see you in about a week.
Beautiful. So tune in and enjoy your nights with Stephen and Sky. And of course, before we leave, we have to do our signature huck off. And we want to make sure all you guys in the comments, you're saying goodbye in penguin language as well. So good night, everyone. Stay sane and stay safe. Until next time,